All right, in studio, we have Mark Lamoncha from Humtown Products. So why don't you share with our viewers a little bit of the history of the company, and you guys have been around a long time, and sort of its founding and where it's come from.
Yeah, it started in 1959. My father worked in a pattern shop in Columbiana, Ohio with another partner, and back in that period of time, they weren't allowed to talk while they were at work. So they decided to form Humtown Pattern Company, later to be Humtown Products, so that they could actually talk with one another all day long and enjoy each other and enjoy the trade of pattern making. And at that point, they built the pattern shop, and up until about 1976, when my brother became involved, they added on to it again. But the original partner got out of it. At that point, it then became, the Humtown Pattern Products, with basically my brother, father, and I, being in the business together.
So you're second generation?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I had three sons that were involved in the business, and I actually didn't really find the spatial perception for me to become a pattern maker. Your sons aren't necessarily always going to be involved in your business. So I had, I was still in high school. I left for a few years to do some other work, and then my father asked me to buy back in when I graduated from high school, and we started the commercial sand core making part of the business, for the foundries, and that gave me the ability to work with machines, which I really enjoyed, and more importantly, to start to work on computers and the integration of computers, and that was really what I loved to do, was to build the IT and integrate it into the machinery.
All right, and you're kind of mechanically inclined?
And technology. Minded? Yeah, I love technology and the integration of it. That's why, I really love the manufacturing 4.0. We actually I built it to the point in 2010 that we were actually fully digitally integrated, well ahead of that wave, because I could see that intersecting data with people in real time was actually going to be a better future than to just look at latent data. After the fact. Let's use data to actually drive change in real time.
We love having you in the area. I think you guys are very community minded, and you're always involved in something, helping and whatever. So what kind of led your family to operate here in Northeast Ohio?
My mother was from over around Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania, and came over. My dad met her, brought her over here, and he was from here. And there were three brothers. The one had Theron's Country Store, and the other one had a auto mechanic shop. And my father, Russell, liked the wood crafting and the wood trade part of it, and was a very highly skilled pattern maker. We had a lot of pattern shops in the area that supported what we now call the Rust Belt for all the tube factories, and that there are very few pattern shops around. And with all the technology changes, and I call it educational integration, community integration, with YSU, and when the opportunity arose to learn and grow and learn about what would be the next step, or, what we'd be working on. You have to be working on tomorrow today, or you don't have a tomorrow, with the SBDC, and then, the Youngstown Business Incubator, and then YSU. And even so much so that when the 3D sand printing technology, which will eventually, replace the analog or tooling based, they referenced us to the University of Iowa. And, we compete on the football fields, but we complete in the classrooms. And what I started to see was just amazing. All the silos were taken down. Everybody in Youngstown wanted to become, integrated and help each other. So for about a year and a half, we were able to bring that technology at UNI to, the Caterpillars and the Cumminses and the automotive companies to not have to use tooling. And that all happened because of others' mindedness of the network that came out of Youngstown.
So when we talk to parents, their question is that they want to know the industries of tomorrow, what their kids should be taking. So if you were to put a short list together of what YSU or the tech schools or whatever could do, what would your talent pool, what are we missing most in this area that you'd love to be able to have more kids get into?
I know there was a point that additive manufacturing has been around for 30 years, but the the complement to being able to do the university projects was the fact that we were able to then, we wanted to integrate into the schools. So what we've done currently on our YouTube channel is something called Through the Lens of My Friends. A friend of ours that works with us, Cynthia Rogers, on social media, was basically saying, you need to let them be young adult tours. In other words, when the students come to us now, what we do is we bring in, two of them. One learns the computer and bringing the parts in and building that computer-aided file that goes into the machine to print those parts, and then the other young adult from school learns how to run the machine. And what happens then is, a week later, their friends come in and they give the complete tour from beginning to end. When you relate generationally from one to the other, and they're wondering how did you get to learn this and get to run the factory or run the machines. The law of the lid shouldn't be the word kid. They're young adults. They're brilliant beyond our wildest imaginations. When you empower them, with knowledge that they have this opportunity for the parents to get to learn in 5th through 8th grade, getting ready to go in high school where the very difficult subjects come in. If they can find out what they want to be, then they find out what it takes to get them there. I really believe that accelerates grades beyond our wildest imagination.
Yeah, and you watch the light bulbs go off.
Oh, yeah.
And it opens up a whole new channel.
Interest, purpose, passion, engagement.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Some people with a job, you don't want to get up, you can't wait to go home, and you can't wait to retire. But if they can find a career with that interest, purpose, passion, and engagement, what better thing could any parent want for their child?
Okay, so if you were to put that short list out to a trade school, what are your biggest needs for talent?
We really have to find out with our real-time data system what businesses are growing and which ones are going away.
Right.
And I believe that we're working on that. And I think then it takes, some of them require, your vocational school, some require, college. But I even think our workforce today, what I see with the Excellence Training Center at YSU, they're bringing in companies that are existing, and I call it a la carte, or kind of like what Steve Jobs did. He dropped out to drop in.
Right.
There are a lot of opportunities for education, and they're currently doing it over there. Well, they'll bring them in to learn industrial maintenance.
This episode was brought to you by Youngstown Computer, the Valley's technology company. We appreciate the loyalty you all have shown to us over the years, and it's our promise to serve all of the technology needs of the Valley. Call 330-259-7278. We have both home and business services available, everything from repair, installations, and new equipment. You can improve your Wi-Fi and have your technology serve you better. Call 330-259-7278, or you can schedule your appointment right now on youngstowncomputer.com and look for the red Book Now button. So you guys have connected with the additive manufacturing, but let's talk about the other products that Humtown does. So you do pattern making, you do your own tooling, you do the additive manufacture or additive castings and stuff like that. So what else do you guys do?
We started out doing pattern making, and right now, we're really down to only one pattern maker, because they make the tool, or in our case, the core box that goes on the machine that we inject the sand into. And mostly what we're doing now is just moving that tooling from different foundries around and rigging it on those machines. I call that the analog core production. Our facility in Latonia is where we actually do what we call digital core production. And most of that actually comes from the OEM. They send that in, and then we make the part, and then that part goes to the foundry, of their choice. Then the next step is to actually direct metal printing, which we're starting to get more involved with. Our current, third location is actually at the Excellence Training Center in YSU, and they're actually, we're helping to support them with the 3D sand printing in Latonia, transfer those molds up here. They're doing an advanced manufacturing foundry, micro foundry there. And they've actually already poured metal, and they're still finishing up the advanced manufacturing part of it. But it's going to be, for our area in this state, the test ground for proving the automation of foundry. Wow. And so we will help assist with either, college or in, college pours, for research projects, or we'll bring in OEMs to do, it's a smaller part. It's not a high production foundry, but it's a very high tech foundry.
Yeah, that's definitely next step stuff. Direct metal printing.
Well, and here's the unintended consequences about the positive effect of being involved with the university. Dr. Brett Connor had a project in a company called FreshMade, and they actually patented a product called Amclad. And what that does, that infiltrates the sand, and we're now making semi-loads of vacuum form tooling that used to be made in machine shops. Once this is treated with this process all the way through it, we're now able to make the vacuum form tooling at like 40% less cost and twice as fast.
Wow.
Currently, we're actually shipping semi-loads of reaction injection molded tooling. This means now that sand that's normally used to make cores for metal casting is actually producing vacuum form tooling, reaction injection molded tooling, and it's like a blockbuster thing. It's basically thinking that something will go on forever when somebody is actually three-dimensionalizing their thinking and finding a new way to make a product. It's basically like we're always going to a video store. No, we're not. You watch them in real time at home.
Yeah, and that being on the cutting edge of that technology, it can change the whole landscape of an industry. And I've always been impressed the scale of these printers. Like normal, what we know about 3D printing is that you have this little 12 by 12 printer and you're printing some plastics and you make some trinkets or whatever. But these 3D printers that print in sand are huge, like huge areas, and you can make huge tools out of them.
Yeah, actually, they'll print about 5,000 pounds of sand every 12 hours.
Wow.
We actually had a project where we were doing stabilizers for military ships that weighed almost 15,000 pounds. We would print 10 5,000-pound blocks that, because of the ability with CAD we're not limited by the size of the build box. They can actually be interconnected and bolted together. So they actually took 25,000 pounds, 5 of those blocks, bolted them together, and poured 14,000-pound stabilizers for the port and the aft on ships.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So after we were in the Haltech building, and it was growing rapidly, I looked around and couldn't find a building anywhere in Mahoning or Columbiana County. Penny, with the Port Authority, had this building that used to be the Mitsubishi tire press manufacturing factory. When I saw that it was really large and we only had a couple machines, but we knew it was going to grow rapidly, she said, hey, they're going to move, they're going to build their new plant over in China. If you want this plant, you can have it. So this is how we ended up over in Latonia in an over 100,000 square foot building. And, a lot of people don't know this. Currently, there's the YSU and the Columbiana County Port Authority went with Senator Roy to get a grant for, I believe it was around $800,000, to renovate this into a global investment hub, to bring 6 international companies in to collaborate in the space a little further back, and then actually incubate and grow into industrial parks that are in the valley. So now, because we didn't use the space, we came up with an idea where we could basically, that could be a global investment hub around additive manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, and it was somewhat related to oil and gas. So we have the area in here that will be a common space with couches and presentation and, maybe a pool table or, some recreational material. Those 3 rooms on the right, 3 rooms on the left. There's a common conference room at the back end that will be used for each of the 3 tenants to be able to collaborate together. These were in 2020, the 4 awards that we won from the National Association of Manufacturers. And then we've done projects with the schools, like where the students would draw a pencil drawing, and they actually, Christopher from FreshMade actually had a program that scans it and makes it 3-dimensional. It's unbelievable. You'd never think that you could get something like that from a lead pencil drawing. Some of the artifacts here are basically like turbochargers. There are designs that were design possible now because of 3D printing, where before the engineers were limited. Now they're only limited by their imaginations, where before they were limited by tooling requirements and restrictions. On the front of the printers that are made by X1, it says they're digital part materialization, DPM machines. It doesn't say on there they're 3D sand printers. So we've printed with spherical carbon. We're working with even sustainability materials that are going into landfills that we could print furniture. Yeah, it
blows my mind.
Right. So whatever granulate we can put through there, we're going to continue to keep testing and find that we can print, because the sustainability project is basically to take things that go into landfills and repurpose them. So, and that's great. That's where the research from the universities and that are valuable, because, they're good at it. It's something that allows the students in school to see what it's like to take a problem and turn it into a challenge, and then turn it into a solution that benefits all of us. It's a new product that it's the latest in holographic technology. It's made by Proto. It's actually that's the M unit. There's a Epic unit. It actually allows us to take our part and more three-dimensionalize it for people to see it. We're continuing to find new ways to communicate. It's more like taking FaceTime to full-time. They're using them in hospitals and universities around the world to create. The better we see somebody, the more we engage. That's really the element of the Proto unit. You'll see on the right, there's a Liberty of Poetry. You see the dragon, and then you see the bowling ball. Well, the bowling ball was actually, this process was made for the statues. It's a surface coat. In learning this process with the AMCLAD and trying to find out what it really could do, we were talking about how strong is it really, and they felt that it was very strong. They said, well, you design the bowling ball, I'll print the bowling ball, you infiltrate the bowling ball, and then if you go online, you can still see that they bowled with that at Camelot Lanes.
And
so when it hit the pin,
wow,
instead of it shattering, that's when I started to really understand that this could be used to make tooling. It can take 30 tons of pressure. Put a tiger in your tank.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's a 28-inch deep chamber that actually, this is a technology that was from, actually Howie Mandel is an investor in this technology. He believes that it's the new FaceTime full-time engagement. They could literally, because it actually has cameras, you interact with it in real time. He actually used this during COVID to present himself at different live events.
Wow, the holographs. That's crazy.
We had it at our trade show up in Cleveland, and actually Howie Mandel came in. We wanted a showstopper, and it was all the people that were there stopped, and it's very lifelike to actually see it in person. We're always looking for the newest ways to communicate and to engage people, and at least for now, this is it. In another 5 years, it'll be there, and there won't be a box. This is proof that they're still working hard on making it better, and 5 years from now, it'll just be the lion sitting there.
That's right.
Yep.
And I love that the technology is leading you in these directions, where
Yeah.
you wouldn't have gotten in holographics had it not been for the other elements.
No.
This episode was brought to you by Youngstown Computer, the Valley's technology company. We appreciate the loyalty you all have shown to us over the years, and it's our promise to serve all of the technology needs of the Valley. Call 330-259-7278. We have both home and business services available, everything from repair, installations, and new equipment. You can improve your Wi-Fi and have your technology serve you better. Call 330-259-7278, or you can schedule your appointment right now on youngstowncomputer.com and look for the red Book Now button. Now we're out into the plant. We're just a little over 3 years when the first machine went into this plant, and the rapid growth and the mindset of especially the OEMs, and then the OEMs leading the foundries, that everybody wants speed to market.
And now that you can take the tooling out of it, at least what we found right now, while it's a shifting mindset, is that we put out do a dual path. If you want to make your tooling, then qualify the ISO part of the quality control for both processes. So you make your file, we start printing you parts now that might be 30% more expensive, and then your tooling is taking 12 weeks to make. You're to market 12 weeks early by the fact that you're already printing these. And then once you hit 12 weeks, you turn on your tooling and you save that 30% cost. This is until our industry speeds the machine up by 30%. And then at a certain point, some things fade out, just like the video stores faded out. Then, now you have digital sand casting. 5 to 10 years from now, when they really accelerate the speed and the certification of the metals, there will be a fade out point. What we're doing right now is giving them the advantage to print that part in some cases 12 to 22 weeks early and be in the marketplace. This is the area where we actually do the quality. The major quality control points in this are basically testing the strength and the amount of resin that holds the part together. This area is where they actually take these parts from all over the thingiverse or the universe and pull them into a 72. It's about 72 by 37 by 27 inches deep.
It's huge.
And it really, there used to be a program called Tetris where people, it's basically having good spatial perception and being able to assemble these parts in a virtual space as tightly as possible. Because what you get paid for with the 3D powder printing, you get paid for all the printed part, not the support material, not the extra sand. And they each have a different gifting level of being able to nest those parts together. You're actually getting to see it right here. And each machine has a different virtual, I call it a virtual build box area. And then you just start bringing these parts in, and for some people, it's very relaxing. It's like a gaming thing.
Like you said, Tetris. It's amazing.
After Joe finishes making the file, that virtual build box then becomes a real build box inside of the machine. When I said before it's a simple process, basically all that sand grains are coated with an activator, and then they go into a 72-inch long recoder that actually lays down a 0.22 to a 0.35 layer thickness. So the way I explain it is really it's a lot like a copier. You have paper and you have ink. Only here what you have is the recoder is actually laying down that layer of sand, and that equals your paper in a copier, and the print head, instead of printing ink, is printing resin. So all the sand grains are activated. It sprays the resin, and it immediately starts to harden. That resin goes in that layer and through that layer into the next layer below it and bonds. And then what it does, it just keeps building down one layer at a time, laying a layer, spraying a layer, laying a layer, spraying a layer, and it's setting up until it's about 27 inches deep, or about 2,800 drops, 2,800 layers that it's dropped.
The resolution you're getting with sand just blows my mind.
Oh my! Some of the you saw some of the ornamental things that my different team members have up on their, it just, the detail's phenomenal. They did a rose petal that was, I thought I had seen how well that it could deposit, in how fine it could lay it. But after I saw that rose petal, I said, I haven't seen everything yet.
Right. Yeah, so grains of sand become the pixels for that stuff. That is amazing.
Yeah, we actually learned how to print spherical carbon that put the weight to about the right weight of a leading custom guitar maker designed this guitar, and we printed it out of spherical carbon, and it's actually a playing guitar. They actually put all the parts in, but it's a design that you would have never been able to made by hand.
Is there a bunch of finishing that goes on after the resin's been dried and all that kind of stuff?
Well, only if we do the AMClad process.
Okay.
If it's going to be poured, once it's extracted and all that white sand material is off, then that is good for the casting process.
Okay.
But from that point forward, if the part's all clean, then it goes into where you infiltrate these different high-strength polymers that go all the way through it. And basically, then what happens is the sand becomes a substrate for the dominant polymer. And it's really acting just like a skeleton to hold the polymer strengths. There were 3 different versions of the machine. We'd use Allen Bradley. They use Beckhoff. And now the latest machines they use are Siemens, and they're touchscreen. We currently are working on, and it did an initial test on using the first ever robotic extraction. A lot of the time spent is actually, extracting and blowing it off. So now that we know that, we've commercialized to printing up to 2 full railroad cars of sand in a week, which is fully commercialized. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. The next step is putting advanced manufacturing around it and using some robotics. When I say railroad car sand, basically the bags of the equivalency of 2 railroad cars of sand. Eventually, we'll look at having the sand brought in by pneumatic transport and delivered to the machines. And then we run a lot of different materials. We run different sand types from all over the world based on the metal that's being poured.
And you said that anything that could be is granular you could put through that machine other than sand.
Well, we're experimenting with more and more things. It depends on the chemistry of it. So back to the point of making tools, or basically we have a skateboard ramp here. And we took the one that you see that was made out of wood, and we were duplicating it. There's interest in building a skateboard park, and we thought, hey, well, I'll just make these, and you see if they work, and if they work, then they can design their skateboard ramp, and you could print designs that you'd never be able to build.
Oh my goodness! So what are those made out of?
Those are made out of sand that are treated with the polymer, the high strength polymer. They'll be joined together, and then they'll test it. They'll use it for summer.
It looks like a plastic. It looks like a
And essentially it is. The sand was just used for the shape,
right? And
the polymer actually gives it the strength.
Wow,
yeah,
that's amazing.
So why not? That's what I say. Why not? And what's next?
Well, Mark, I appreciate you coming in and talking about this today. If the public wants to learn more about your company, or you have some people out there that want to come work for Humtown, where do they find you? Where do they look you up?
Humtown.com. There are a lot of videos on our YouTube channel to experience things that we're doing, and you can certainly connect in every way through our Humtown website.
Beautiful.
Thanks
for
Mark. Having me.
Appreciate it.